My next question is to Dr. Davila. Really quickly, you say that they are witnessed in the city of Toronto. Is that what you were pushing for? Was all witnessed in? Is that why you moved towards trying to get Toronto to have decriminalization and a legalization of drugs like crack, to have more witnessed programs, or was this to just have a free-for-all?
So, through the chair, what we're trying to do is provide, evidence-informed advice around how to address a very, very challenging situation on the ground.
So, witnessed, yes or no?
So, we offer a clinic service that is witnessed, but I recognize that there are a range of different options that are required to meet the different needs of different people.
Thank you, Dr. Davila. Thank you, Ms. Goodridge. Next.
To our witnesses, thank you for being here today. To Mrs. Krupp, our family does have lived experience. My brother lives on the street and has been on the street for years, struggling with his addiction. I lost my brother-in-law to an overdose, also an uncle as well. So I really, truly appreciate your testimony today. Dr. Davila, is it your position today, the same as in 2018 when your office released a report in which you recommended the legalization of highly addictive and deadly drugs such as heroin, meth, and cocaine and fentanyl? Do you believe that that is still your position today?
So, through the chair, my position is that we need to take an evidence-informed approach to substance use, and that the current criminalization of those who use drugs is actually not serving our shared objective of a better, healthier society.
So you agree that we should be legalizing heroin, meth, cocaine, and fentanyl?
I think we should be treating substance use as a health issue, and we need to modernize our existing policy approach to substance use.
Okay, now you're a public health physician, is that correct? You're not actively involved in these centers. You're a public health physician that drafts policy, is that correct?
So I do not provide direct clinical treatment.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Fallu, I appreciate your testimony today. You called decriminalization in BC a success. Were you aware that the leading cause of death for children aged 10 to 18 is overdose?
Yes, I am. But
is that a success to you?
Do you want me to answer?
Well, yes, please.
Okay. You know, I'm a scientist, and I know that causal attribution is really complex, and you cannot, because something is higher than before decrim, attribute this to decrim. There had been other factors at play.
Okay.
Inflation, housing problems.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
It was a success. Okay.
I appreciate your answer. 47,000 Canadians have lost their lives since 2016. I struggle to see how that is a success in Canada overall.
Sure. Dr. Davila, I find it interesting. I had a chance to read some of the comments that you've made. Am I right on behalf of Canadians in saying that when you talk about legalization and some of the proposals you put forward, that you didn't believe there would even be an age limit on use of unregulated drugs in this country? Is that true?
So let's be clear. What I have put forward and what we put forward at Toronto Public Health is in respect of decriminalization and a nuanced discussion on how to create drug policy that actually better supports health.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't my question. My question was very specific. Does your policy include the fact that there be no age limit?
So our decriminalization application did include young people who we recognize are actually also very much suffering from addiction.
I'm going to interrupt you, but you're giving us a word salad. On behalf of Canadians, your legalization program did not have any age limit whatsoever.
Through the chair, it was a decriminalization application to the federal government, and yes, it considered young people who are also suffering with
So,
challenges of substance use
I guess,
in order to
Dr.
protect
Davila,
their
I am
health.
going to interrupt you there because you continue to say your same line over and over again, and I understand why you're doing that. I assume it's because you're embarrassed to come out and say what the actual truth is, that on behalf of Canadians out there, of course, those of us on this side of the House do realize that young people suffer with opioid use disorder. Of course we do. But in the policies that we've read that you've put forward, you're talking about legalization, which you want to argue and call by a different name, but also not admit the fact that it includes no age limit for young people.
So through the chair, it was an application to the federal government for decriminalization. Yes, it considered young people because they are actually suffering and stigmatized related to their drug use. And as well, you'll note that our strategy at the City of Toronto does consider a very broad range of approaches. We recognize that it is not a simple solution that will actually get us where we, I believe, want to get to, which is a healthier, thriving community.
Yeah,
We
I
actually
thank
need
you-
better
I thank
drug
you for that,
policy,
Dr.
we need
Davila, but
more
what I would
prevention,
suggest
we
to
need
you-
more harm reduction,
excuse me.
and we
Please.
need more
Excuse me,
treatment.
ma'am, but
Go
these are
ahead,
my
your last
questions.
question, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Chair. What we're seeing here is the fact of the matter that neither of Mrs. Krupp's children were born wanting to be addicted to drugs. Everybody over here realizes that. But I think, Dr. Davila, what you're failing to realize, and of course why your proposal was actually shot down by the province, is the fact that nobody in this country now believes that legalization of drugs and giving out drugs for free especially to kids, is in any way, shape, or form going to change the narrative of the chaos and drugs and disruption that policies such as yours are allowing to happen on the streets. And I guess, the fact
Mr.
of the
Chair?
matter is...
Dr. Ellis, that's your time, if you
So
want.
If I
Through
may,
the chair,
just,
if I
Chair,
may
just to
address-
finish
Mr. Chair?
up, if
Yeah,
I hope you're happy
okay, we have a point
of
of
the 10
order from
cities
Ms.
that now
Briere.
exist.
So-
Point of order.
Point of order,
Excuse
go
me.
ahead.
We are not talking about legalization. We
Yeah,
are talking about
Yeah,
decriminalization.
thank you, Ms. Briere. Okay, Dr. Ellis, are you finished?
Sorry,
I don't think there's
Your
anything
time
else
is
to
up.
say, but thank you, Chair. I appreciate you.
Okay.
I'm not finished, but yes, my time is up. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair. I appreciate you.
Okay, and Dr. Davila, you want 30 seconds to respond?
if I may.
Go ahead.
right? Again, I will emphasize that, yes, the application that we
Point
put
of
forward as
order,
Toronto
Chair.
Public Health.
Point of order?
Dr. Ellis, on a point of order.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. And I guess, the time, as we know in this committee, you've been very generous in doling out the time in terms of allowing responses. I think the fact of the matter is, though, Chair, is I didn't ask a question. There was a very clear statement that, again, is very important to put forward, considering the fact that Dr. Davila wants to bring forward whatever her opinion is. When the question's asked, people, yes, of course, have time to respond. I didn't ask Dr. Davila a question, and I would say to you, Chair, that giving her a chance to voice her opinion, as she's done 3 or 4 times already, is not in the convention of what we do here. It's well beyond time.
And you spoke right through the time that was allotted, and there's some latitude in the chair, and quite frankly, I think that it's in the interest of the committee to afford that courtesy to the witness. It was a pretty damning monologue. She wants 30 seconds to respond. I'm going to extend that courtesy. Go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to remind the committee that my role as a public health physician is to actually offer the best evidence-informed advice. So that's what I put in front of certainly local decision makers in Toronto, and that's what I would offer to Canadians, although my purview is obviously for Toronto. This is evidence-informed interventions. I cannot state enough. One, the application we put in front of the federal government was for a decriminalization approach, which is different from legalization, and it further argues for the necessity for more services across the board, including prevention, including harm reduction,
Thank you.
and including treatment.
Thank you, Dr. Davila.
Chair, I guess a
Next-
point of order, but I would suggest that Dr. Davila table the evidence on safe supply and decriminalization that she has with the committee.
We're going to go next to, and it isn't a point of order, and you're open to make that request. Any member is open to make that request. She's also open to provide any additional information she wishes. For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Dr. Davila, as part of the application that you guys put in to make it legal for people to possess a number of different drugs, including crack, heroin, meth, you didn't have an age delimitation, so children could legally carry and use drugs as part of the model you put forward. Do you think it is responsible to have a program for children to have a legal method of using drugs
So
in a recreational model?
Through the chair, the application that was put forward by us at Toronto Public Health was for decriminalization, which, as we've heard, is different from legalization. I do want to make the distinction, and I've said already to this committee, and I will say it again. The notion is not to promote or encourage widespread, unregulated drug use. It's to recognize that drug use is happening, and it is actually causing harm to people in our community, including those who are young.
Okay.
And so the notion is to try and reduce the stigmatization associated with that.
I appreciate this. We have very limited time. So in British Columbia, they developed guidelines to allow fentanyl to be prescribed in a recreational model to children under 18. Do you support that?
So through the chair, again, I'm not familiar with the model in BC, so it's difficult for me to comment on that.
Then do you support so-called safe supply being prescribed to children under 18, yes or no?
So through the chair, what I support is an assessment of individual patients or people who are under care and using evidence-informed treatment to support that.
So if
I
the
cannot
evidence-
speak towards any specific situation without actually conducting a proper assessment.
Okay, would you want your children to be prescribed highly potent opioids if they were under 18 without you being aware of that?
So through the chair, I would want the medical system to provide appropriate care to my children for what situation they have in front of them. Clearly, as parents, we want to be involved in the care. I get that. And we have particular legislation in respect of consent to treatment. I think that's important as well. But to my mind, what we need to do is create an environment that actually allows for good medical care to be provided to individuals regardless of their age. And we need all
regardless
the
of their
approaches
age.
to be available.
So you want, regardless of their age, so you believe that children under 18 should be allowed to be given recreational fentanyl, hydromorphone, without their parents' consent, without their parents' consideration, because that's just a good idea?
So through the chair, that is not what I said. What I said is we have existing consent to treatment legislation. So I think we need to observe the laws of the country.
Fair enough.